Right, so bringing in your cardstock that we've stuck together, you're going to start on the left hand side, take off all of your tape, and then this will get stuck down on that left hand side. So you're going to bump it up to the score lines that we've made. Whoops. So that will be the guide of where to stick it. And try not to touch the tape as you're peeling it up. Okay. So where we've made our score lines, I'm just going to bump it right up like so, and then press that down. With a 1/4 of an inch tape, you're going to add a strip right up to that first piece of chipboard, and tear that off. Then we'll add our spine piece. So take the tape backing off. Oop. Come on. And then bump this right up to the score tape and that score line. Like so. Then add another 1/4 inch strip, bumped right up to the spine. Press that down, and then add your back piece. So again, take off all of the tape backing. Oops. And then when we've stuck this on, you're just going to trim down the cardstock so you've got 1 inch on the right hand side and at the bottom as well, because we don't need all that extra. So lining that up with your score line and your tape. There we go. Well, it's already fine at the right hand side, to be fair. So just along the bottom, there's my ruler. Just do 1 inch from the chipboard. Just draw a line. Is that straight? And then you can trim that up. You could put it in your trimmer. I'm just going to use some scissors. I've got some big scissors. So I'm just trimming off the bottom along that along that score line, pencil line even. And it doesn't matter too much if it's not perfect, because it is going to be covered up, so don't worry. Right, oh, my phone's going crazy. I've got a whole pile of score tape, tape backing here even, so let me just get that in the bin so I've got some room. Okay. And we're just going to put tape around the edge. So let me try and get some of this in shot. So you want tape all around the edge of your cardstock. And then I also put it all around the edge of the chipboard. So let me just move this, so there. So around the edge, like so. Then along with the bottom. And then that side. And then on the edge of the chipboard. Now I just go straight across. I know you could save like half an inch of a bit, but I'm kind of like, nah, I don't mind. Okie dokie. So again, burnish all of that tape. Burnish it really, really well. There. Okay, so before we actually take any of the tape off, we're just going to train the cardstock to fold. So what I mean by that is, whoops, fold it up on all of the edges, so it knows where it needs to go already. Oops. So use the edge of the chipboard, to help you. Like so. Then we do need to miter the edges, so where's my little tool that I made? Oh, what have I done with that thing? I can't find it. Ah, there it is. So I did make, oops, these little mitering tools just so I can get an even amount snipped off. So all it is a corner of chipboard and then a straight piece across, and then you just trim down this bit, so the corner of the chipboard, just trim it down until that's 1/4 of an inch, and then you'll get 1/4 of an inch measure each time. You don't have to do that, you can do it by eye, but I just like to have it kind of even. You can buy a tool like it, but I couldn't get it here in England without a ridiculous shipping cost, because it was from America. I think like the shipping cost was twice as much as even more than the actual thing. So I was kind of like, nah, I can make one. So I'm just going to cut across. So you've got an even space on each corner. So you can cut it with your knife, or you can do it with your scissors. So either way. But another reason why I don't do it by eye is because often I trim too much. so if you trim too much, then some of your chipboard is going to still poke through. So it was a bit pointless wrapping it when you're still going to see bits of chipboard poking through. So that's another reason why I try and do it like that. So we've got our chipboard covered, and that's what the corner will look like once it's trimmed away. So you've just got a little bit there. Now you need to take off all of the backing, including the bits in the middle. So all the edge pieces, whoops, and these middle bits. So to get these, I'll just use my pokey tool to just get underneath it, and then it'll just slide out. So you kind of, if I bring it a bit closer, you might be able to see what I'm doing. So I'm just easing my pokey tool under it, and then it comes off pretty easily. Okay, so your tape is off, your tape backing. I put a little bead of glue in the next to the chipboard, and I do that because I found it seems to look better when I've done that, because I used to do tape, but then I tried a little line of wet glue, and it seemed to, I don't know, it just looked better. So that's what I do now. So just a thin line and slowly work it up. Now you've already started folding it, so it should go up quite easily. Press the cardstock into that glue, and then you're kind of going to pull up and towards you at the same time. So up and towards you, and press it down, and then just work the edges down. And I always start from the middle as well, and then work my way out. So flip it around and do the other side. So a line of wet glue, and then pull up and towards you. Okay, so before we fold the sides up, you're going to have a little excess of cardstock here. So this little bit there, that needs to be pressed down. So there is some wet glue behind there, so it should be enough, but I do squeeze some wet glue into underneath there. So just to make sure it will stick down, there's enough that side, and then press down that little flap with your bone folder and really press it down. That just makes it look so much neater when that little flap is pressed down really well. Oops. So really give it a good press. Then you can add your line of glue, line, whatever you want to call it. Whoops. And then again you're pulling it up and over. And then really press that down. And that glue is going to make that little corner sit nice and neatly. If it oozes out, that's fine. That means it's stuck and it's not going to go anywhere. So I keep tissue on hand just for a quick clean up. Whoops. So you've got a nice neat corner. And then the same this side. So pressing down those extra bits of cardstock into the glue, and give it a really good press. So I'm pressing down and I'm also pressing up against the side of the chipboard, so it's stuck nicely, like so. And then, whoops, can pull it up and over. Now this one is a little bit shorter, but it's fine, it'll still do the trick. Oops, because again I'm just using A4. And again, any excess glue is all good, because it'll just mean it's stuck. I'm giving those corners a good press. Okay, now they're stuck, I just run my bone folder, the straight edge of the bone folder along the edge, so that I'll press down that cardstock into that line of glue that we stuck. So do it gently, you don't have to go too heavy-handed. So just gently pressing it down. There. And give everything a good burnish again. Oh. There. And then in this little bit there, just gently press it down. You don't need to go too heavy yet, because we are going to do it a little bit later, but just start to get that going as well. Okay, so now that that is done, so that's what it looks like. So you want to cover all of this, so you can do it in a couple of ways. You can do more cardstock or just pattern paper, and I think I'm going to do, what am I going to do? I'm going to cover the spine part, and then the rest of it's just going to be pattern paper. So to cover the spine, we need cardstock that is, I don't have my measurements, where's my ruler? So it needs to be the same height as the album, so that's going to be 8 3/4. No, that better yet, make it 8 1/2. So 8 1/2 by, let's go with, how wide's that? Oh, that's just enough. So one of the offcut pieces is about just under 5 inches. So 5 inches by 8 1/2 will be enough. So let's trim that down. What did I say? 5 inches by 8 1/2. So this will sit just there. So there'll be a smidge of a gap top and bottom. So I'm going to cover this with tape. So again, very edge to edge. No, we want edge to edge tape coverage. To make sure it stays in place. If you have adhesive sheets that you use for die cutting, you can also use that. I've actually run out, that's why I haven't shown it to you, but that's a very useful little trick. So when I next get some in on the next album, I'll show you what I mean. And there we go. Oop. Need a little smidge piece, so I use 1/4 inch. There. Okie dokie do. Give that a really good burnish. Take all the tape off. And you don't have to measure it. You could measure for the placement. I'm just going to do it by eye, but you could measure either side of the chipboard to make sure you get an even amount of cardstock. So that's going to be like just about 1 inch either side up from this edge here. So you would go about 1 inch, like a hair under of 1 inch. Draw a line, and that's where you go up to. So top and bottom, it's pretty easy to measure because it's only a little bit off the actual length of the thing, height of the thing even. So stick that down. Give that a good press. So to get it stuck in the either side of the spine, because you've got a bit of tape there, remember, you're going to turn it to the side, and with your pointer fingers just gently fold it and press it in. And you only want to bring it up to about a 90-degree fold. Don't fold it all the way flat. Just bring it to about there and gently fold. Turn it around, do the same thing. So just using the pointer fingers, just start to bend it and bring it up, and then bring them up together. And you don't want it folding any further than how it should fold, as in the two pieces together. So then gently with your bone folder, just work that cardstock into that gap. And I'm just wiggling it from side to side in the gap that's there, because those two pieces of cardstock will now stick together. So gently wiggle, wiggle, wiggle into the gap. Okay, and that's our cover done. So you've got the seam on the spine, and I have torn my card there, but never mind. So that's the cover done. So next all we need to do is add the pages and decorate.